There are some interesting headlines in the news today that I think we should cover. And I feel like in the real estate world, there's always something interesting that's happening. Like somebody's lighting their hair on fire, somebody isn't really understanding things correctly. So I'm excited to shed some light and to start talking a little bit about these headlines that matter to investors. The first is FHA shifting loan criteria toward lower credit approvals.
Right.
There could be a bunch of arguments made either way. The fact that this is a good thing, it offers more flexibility for FHA to lend, and then you have different borrowers coming to the table with not so good credit. Are they qualified to buy? Are they going to make the same mistakes that we did last time in some potential bad borrowing habits and bad lending practices? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a terrible idea. We've actually covered this once before on the show, that the reason why I've been railing against this this drumbeat about how affordability is bad in the housing market and how that's necessarily bad, right? Just to bring everybody back, there's been, if you've been checking out any housing stories this year, the new boogeyman in the economy is affordability in housing. In other words, prices of houses are going up, and so affordability is necessarily going down, and that's bad because people who want to buy homes should be able to. And I always use the analogy because it's so absurd. Imagine if the Dow Jones is up 200 points today, and that's bad news because affordability in the stock market is now down. No one's ever spoken those words, and yet it's getting traction with a lot of very smart people that affordability needs to be addressed, okay? And what I told you last time, what I've been concerned about the whole time, is that this is exactly the kind of thinking that eventually concludes that if we have an affordability problem, people who want to buy homes are not able to. We need to loosen the lending standards, because the only tool that some people have in the tool set in government or in these large mortgage entities is we want to, it's like, I'm going to talk in caveman terms. We want more home ownership. Home ownership good. Must let people qualify for loans. They don't qualify. Must reduce loan standards, right? Like literally, there's no thought going into this. They're going right back to the old playbook. The old playbook resulted in people getting too much buying power. That resulted in the housing bubble of the 2000s, where you had people running around with blank checks in their pocket. They were qualifying for much more house than they actually could afford, because somebody said we need to reduce the lending guidelines to allow more people who can't afford to buy a house to buy a house. I warned you about this, right? I think I actually told you that I was going to chain myself to like the fence around the White House and like go on a fast.
We did talk about this. That's right. I remember that. When is that happening? Because I'm supposed to be there with a camera, if I remember.
Yeah. Well,
right.
this is the point, all right? This is why I was making a big deal about the affordability thing being obnoxious and absurd. When home prices go up, people who own do well. It gets more expensive to people that want to get in. If people seize upon affordability as a negative and then start saying, let's loosen lending standards, what we're doing is creating the exact same circumstances that did create the housing bubble last time. Right now, we have a fairly healthy real estate market. Prices have been rising. They're starting to level off a little bit because they rose too high, right? Affordability was too low, i.e. people couldn't afford the houses. What usually happens then is they don't buy, and the sellers have to back off their price escalation, because if you want to sell your property and nobody's buying it, you have to lower your price. Mm-hmm. That's what the market does under healthy circumstances. So if the do-gooders could just hang back for a minute, not try to force home ownership where it doesn't quite fit, let the affordability solve itself by having home prices level off while wages rise. Wages are rising almost as fast as home affordability is not quite. And so if home prices level off a bit and wages continue to climb, you're going to find that affordability improves, because now that same person who couldn't afford that house, well, now they can, because the house didn't get that much more expensive, but their buying power got better because of their job and their income, not because somebody handing them a blank check from a mortgage company.
So the other argument could be made, well, Greg, it's not like I'm not underwriting the asset properly. Sure, I'm letting borrowers with 400 credit scores apply. Some might get it, and they have a good job. They're working on their credit. They don't have any major issues on paying on time and things like this, because they've proven that to me over their last 3 or 4 years on a rental record. So if I'm FHA and I'm still underwriting the property to a very strict standard, this should be a good thing, right?
As long as they're putting 25% down, I'm fine. But where they go next, first they drop the credit score. Then they say, gee, we're not getting enough people to buy houses that we want to buy houses. So what's the next problem? The credit score, they didn't have good enough credit history. Okay, so eliminate that as an obstacle. What's the next one? They don't have enough of a down payment. Well, that's easy. Just don't require much of a down payment. Boom, done. Now we've enabled people to be homeowners. Here's the thing, Abhi. We've all seen the movie before.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the very same exact people that are out there talking about how affordability is the problem are also talking about there being a bubble. All right? They don't realize that a bubble means home prices are rising too fast. Affordability means the people aren't keeping up with it. If the market is allowed to continue to process, the affordability gap closes because of the reasons I said, the prices level off. If you give the buyers fake buying power, that only enables the seller to continue to raise the prices. So you artificially inflate prices by taking the seller off the hook, giving the buyer unreasonable buying power in the form of a mortgage they can't afford, so the seller is able to sell the house for a higher price because the mortgage company's making up the difference. That's exactly what... So I've seen the movie before. Here's where it ends. Prices inflate too high. People chase, buyers chase, sellers crank up the prices further until finally the market gets burnt out, and then it corrects, and then we give back 15-20% of the value. The only way we see another housing correction like last time is if we overappreciate. The only way we're going to overappreciate is if human intervention creates another self-inflicted wound of too much buying power, thereby artificially high prices. So we have to make sure they don't continue to do this, because this is like, a Groundhog Day of stupidity, in my opinion.
I like the Groundhog Day of stupidity. That's actually really that's good. I mean, if you take a look at, they also said in this article, the borrowers with FICO scores dipping down into the 400s rose from 21.9% in 2009 to 29.7% in 2017. I mean, if you really take a look at it, that's maybe 1.4% increase a year for the last 8 years. Actually, maybe a little bit less, probably like 0.9% increase every single year in those borrowers that have less than 400 credit scores. Is that really a bad thing?
Look, don't get mad at me, but you know how many payments you have to miss to get a 400 credit score?
Yeah, that's a good
point. Like all of them, bro. All of them. You know what I mean? So like in your example that, I have a borrower and he paid his loan. No, he didn't pay his loan on time. Well, he paid, no, he didn't. He didn't. Okay. He's not a good credit risk. And so when they do this, if you want to give somebody with a 400 credit score a mortgage, then make sure he puts 25% down. Now I'm feeling better, because now he's got skin in the game. He's demonstrated the ability to earn a living and save money. So now he's got a down payment. He puts that down payment down. He's not going to walk away. He has skin in the game. So if you want to give him another chance on his credit history, I'm all for that. But don't give him a pass on the down payment too, because
that's right.
That's Groundhog Day of stupidity all over again.
That is Groundhog Day stupidity. I think we talked almost through this segment about this specific topic, which, I mean, I'm passionate about just as much as you are, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was just taking the different position. I think the more stupid we get as a society with lending criteria, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. And quite frankly, from an investor's perspective, I'm laughing, right? Because now I know exactly what's going to happen. Like you said, Greg, we've seen this movie all over again, and I'm looking to capitalize.
Listen, if this does happen, then there's going to be some really, really great deals. I don't care about great deals. I care about accumulation. I don't want to see it happen, but you can bet that if they do this and they create another bubble, there's going to be a massive investment opportunity on the other side of it.